This one is very close to home. When you lose someone, you feel, sometimes it doesn't feel real yet. And grief is a very interesting animal, is what I would say. You might feel shock, you might feel numb. I'm thinking of what I felt when it's been 16 months since my husband of 35 years passed, and I had absolutely no idea or thought that that would happen. And it really is why stability moments came to be, because I felt so unstable, and I really needed to figure out what stability was. And I'll share in a moment a little more of that journey, because this is a really good time of that feeling shock or feeling numb literally is your system trying to protect you and keep you moving. That is definitely your body trying to keep you, helping you to keep moving forward, which I think is really beautiful. That is a stability moment. And it's not to make it go away. You cannot just make grief go away. In fact, these stability moments, they're not here to fix anything. They don't solve a problem. They don't solve an issue. Yet they put you in a place to where you can move forward and take control of your life. So this is literally how to just keep moving forward, what I am sharing here. And since it's so close to my heart, and because, and it is the reason, and with my friend just losing her husband of many years, it just really takes a toll on someone. And interestingly enough, it's, what do you, like, the block, feeling a block, feeling numb, and hearing him call her name. And we all experience that in different ways. And so here is like something that you can do, and it's really interesting. This would be a microstability, and and I'll explain a few more, but just in the moment. And I laugh because it's like it's not like anyone can do anything for us when we are moving through that. It's when the grief hits so deeply, it seems all we can do is put one foot in front of the other, if we even can think about putting the foot in front of the other. So I would suggest just putting your hand on your chest, maybe the other hand on your stomach, and breathing and doing the vagal breathing. I did a lot of breathing when that happened, because the grief would wash over me and almost overpower me and engulf me. And sometimes it hurts so bad and you can't even touch where that pain is. And yet to just breathe, and that vagal breath, and then so 4 in and 6 out, just to move back into the parasympathetic, where you're not feeling survival. You may not even be feeling survival if this is happening to you. I can't tell you. The numbness is really more of just, did that really happen? And anyway, I have your self-talk for you. And please share this with anyone, this self-talk. I'm here. I don't have to process this. I don't have to process this all at once. The reason I chose this is because there's so much happening when an event such as that happens. And there's just, it almost is overwhelming. Sometimes it is. And other times you don't even know where you're at. And so if you just you touch yourself to know you're here, you're still here, and tell yourself, I don't have to process this all at once. It's going to take time. It is a process. So you don't have to process it all at once. And be gentle and loving and kind with yourself as you move through it. And I'm encouraging you to not worry about anyone else and what they may or may not be thinking, because we don't know what they're thinking. And I say that from personal experience. You might be worried about what somebody else is thinking or needing or any of that. And I would suggest you focus on you. So grief doesn't need to be rushed. It doesn't need to be fixed. It can't be fixed. And but you do need something to hold on to, so that you don't feel like you're, what would be the word? So you don't feel like you're like disappearing into it, into the void. Yeah, it's 16 months, and sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday. So this is a big one, and I will be doing a free mini series for this, how I went through it, and I can tell you that, and just to go just a teeny bit into my story and how stability moments came around is, my husband's birthday was April last year. That was the first birthday without him, and so last summer, and she said, Mommy, I need this summer to be the summer of stability. And that resonated so deeply within me, the summer of stability. It sounded so peaceful and stable, and we were all over the place because he had recently passed, and we were figuring out the business and so mucho. It was a very challenging time. And what was so, it got me so deeply. And I said, Chula, that's Lynette, my daughter, and I said, I just want stability, period. I want the era of stability. I always want to feel stable. And because we were so unstable and so much was rocking underneath us, the foundation was so shaken up. So that's where stability moments, that's where the course that I created, 6 weeks to stability and empowerment, that's where that came from. That came from my living it and working through it. And it started that on his birthday, is about his birthday, April 2nd, and of last year. And I just kept working through it and kept working through it. And at the beginning of this year, I had the first live class, 6 weeks, and it's now anyone can take it. It is now accredited for mental health professionals to share, and it literally will help anyone in any situation, from grief to, it's how I moved through my grief and feeling so unstable after 35 years of being with someone. I was 26 when I met him. I was a child in that regard, and he was quite a bit older than me, and just it was really challenging because he played many roles in my life. So all of a sudden, many roles were just gone, and so finding that stability. And that is also, so 6 weeks to stability and empowerment, that's a 6-week course. And that is that will always be in the description. The one thing that I will highly encourage anyone is, for years now, as rewiring the brain, so the self-talk, I listen to it always inside also in the description there's an app. It's my mentor who trained me in neuroplasticity and rewiring the brain, basically in self-talk, the father of self-talk, Dr. Shad Helmstetter. And this app helped me. Stress, worry, and depression were one that I used while he was in the hospital, and defeating problems in dealing with the medical staff and all the changes. And when you're in a hospital with someone, it's so disorienting. It's just such a different world. And especially if you believe differently in the food and the medicines, and you're coming from a place of where you know that holistically how the body heals, or you have a pretty good working idea, and it's just a whole different deal, and you can get stuck there. So anyway, that all of that, and that defeating problems, and those are two programs. And I'm not speaking about mental programs. I'm speaking about programs that you can actually listen to rewire your brain. When I go like this, I mean input equals your output. So that defeating problems, it starts with winners see problems differently. And I was just like, yes, I'm a winner. I see problems differently. They're challenges. They are surmountable. They're not difficult. They're challenging. Difficult is a state of mind. And so I really learned and studied. And it was Lynette and I, our daughter, the two of us moved through this, listening to self-talk every single day, which we had been doing prior anyway. But it just continued to reinforce we were going to be just fine, and it helped us. And then really understanding, I thought rewiring the brain was the thing, but if you're not stable, like if you don't stabilize your nervous system, then you're coming from survival. You're coming from the sympathetic. And it's kind of like this low-grade inflammation is how I call it. And it just can stay with you, or it could be grief. Like what we had was just like all of a sudden it would be so overwhelming, and you move through that. Like you don't suppress it. I don't encourage that suppressing, but you let it flow through your body. And I did something a little differently that I don't know how many others would do, but as soon as he took his last breath, there was something inside of me that said, I'm going to live fully. And rather than that happening to me, I celebrated the time that I was with him, and I stayed celebrating him and celebrating our time. And the entire time, Lynette and I did that. And even though we cried and had all those moments, stability moments, we didn't know what that was until April of last year. And we still didn't know until I just wouldn't stop digging into understanding how do you stabilize with something so challenging, so earth-shaking, so destabilizing. And that's where the 6 weeks to stability and empowerment came from. And one of the ways I moved through that was listening to self-talk, the app that's always in the description. Both of those are always in the description for stability moments. And the other thing that came out of that was the model of the programmed reactor to the internal operator. And these are states, they're not people, but being that programmed reactor, if you download, that's a PDF that you can download. It's a model that I came up with because in just figuring out the steps, it's not like I figured out something like earth-shattering, but it gave me the steps to create capacity. I wanted to understand, how do I move through this? How do I keep going day after day? And if you have no capacity, you're just overwhelmed. And so I talk about like the cup is overflowing, and it's not with abundance. Well, it might be abundance, abundance of something painful, or maybe abundance, but but we're talking about grief or something that's challenging here. And these stability moments are about challenging. It is something challenging in our lives where we're about to spiral out of control, spiral down. And I had to catch myself many times from spiraling down. And at the same time, my friend had several months prior to Steve, she lost her mom. And there was just a lot of things happening. And how do you stabilize during that time? No one can tell you no one can fix it for you. And we're always looking externally for something. Like, I was going to the same grocery store, and I know I'm going a little over what I normally do, but this is a big one, and this is how stability moments came to be. But I was looking externally. I wanted to find anything that was normal. There is no normal when something like that, something huge, an event like that happens. There is no normal. And I can tell you right now, in my course, I would tell everyone in the course, the one constant that you can count on that is consistent in our lives, it's not taxes, it's not death, because people, maybe they don't pay their taxes, or death, maybe they believe that they don't believe as everyone believes, you just die, And so, but what is the one thing that every single one of us as beings here on planet Earth, what's the one thing that is consistent and will always happen? Change. Change is always going to happen. And we can look at it as our enemy, or we can look at it as opportunity, or however we want to look at it. But that change can send us spiraling down, or we can spiral up. And the two states that I came up with in this for myself and our daughter was the programmed reactor. Because if your programs you just get overwhelmed and you just spiral down, and your programs, over 77% of our programs are negative or harmful or sabotage us, hold us back. So now we're in the survival mode. And so we've got these 77% or more. It's like way more, they estimate it. I just give you the low amount, and spiral down with those. And then that's one state. The other state is take the pause. When I talk about a pause, I mean literally pause. And then a microstability would be something that stops the reaction. It disrupts it. And that's a microstability. And that's what Lynette and I were always looking for. It's like, how do we find something normal? The body automatically tries to find something to get back in the brain once things that are stable, once a system, once the answers. And now everything's off. So now it's just looking for anything. And so we're looking a walk in the park, or the things that we did, or so we would go to a grocery store, which is called Natural Grocers, because it was there in Amarillo. And that's a long story. We are in Colorado. And so we were also disrupted in that way, because we were, when he had a blood infection, we went to a lower altitude, just to give you some little bit of context. So for over 3 months, we were in our motorhome in Amarillo. So we weren't even home. And we were in and out of urgent care, and not urgent care, but super critical care, whatever they call that. And just a lot of stuff. So it was very disruptive and very destabilizing. And so those states you can literally spiral down, or you can pause. You can find a microstability, something to disrupt that spiral down. So the pause. And then we would go to Natural Grocers, the store, and yet nothing was normal there. Everything was the same, but it was like nothing was the same. The families would be there, women just looking at labels, husband and wives, kids, going to soccer games and doing other things, and all in the store and laughing, and people just living their life normal. And it was not normal for us. Yet just doing something that was familiar, we knew the layout, the music's the same, the cashiers are the same, the food's in the right places, like we know where to go to shop. That was a microstability and gave us the ability to get a little more capacity so that we could keep going and have some clarity around our next steps. And so we weren't just trudge and eyes closed and, and it was literally, okay, now what's next? Because we would just get we just empty that cup a little bit so we could fill it back up during that time. And so this is how Stability Moments was born. And it's incredibly empowering, very powerful and very empowering, because we empower ourselves rather than just falling into our programmed brains with programs that a lot of them do not help us. They hinder us and stop us and sabotage, as I mentioned, over 77%. So those are the programs that we've been rewiring. And that is what you can find, the Self-Talk app. And you can always get 30 days free, and you can have up to 6 people on your account with you. And it's $19.99 a month. It's not my app. And so it's what I highly suggest there isn't one for grief, and but that defeating problems and stress, worry, and depression, those work for anything, but they really are helpful because they're so uplifting, and you're putting this self-talk into your brain and repeat. The number one rule of neuroplasticity: repetition. The more you repeat, the more that's what comes out. You rewire your brain. The brain, neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself until you take your very last breath. In fact, I was playing that for Steve until he asked me not to anymore. Steve is my husband. And anyway, he had some microstrokes. And so I think he changed. And I honored that, so I didn't play it anymore, but I played it for me. So anyway, grief is an interesting animal, and this isn't about healing grief. That's a very individual process, but it's not even about giving tools. It's literally having that compassion for self and creating that capacity. And it is a stability moment, because a stability moment is when you are aware and then you pause, and that is your power. That's why I call the double P. It's like you pause, and it is your power to then not spiral down. And then you can choose. Then you can have a stability moment where you disrupt that spiraling down, those programs that would take you down very easily, of being overwhelmed or lost in it, or anything of those programs that are stopping you, holding you back, or sabotaging you in some way. And then and then from there you have some capacity to then make choices, good decisions. So I took a little longer with this one, but I lived it. I think many of us have lived it. And I cannot say that it's easy. And it is definitely something that we need to go through. And I can tell you, coming out on the other side, and it's not like it's still 16 months, and while it's not fresh, it's fresh. And yet I chose empowerment and chose to find that stability so that I could come out on the other side and continue to celebrate him, that he's in a place where he's so happy and doing what he's doing on his next journey, and celebrate the 35 years that we had together and all the moments that we had. And that's what I focus on. And it's incredibly empowering to do that, rather than to focus on anything negative or because boy, I could have done that real easily. I had some programs that would have taken me down that road. So I just kept rewiring my brain, and then really digging into and creating that program, the 6 weeks to Stability and Empowerment, really helped me with that as well. And finally, that model that was created, that was born out of that, is the stability spiral, or the spiral. Yes, the stability spiral. And it's really helpful because it helps you in the moment. You can actually see the steps of how to stabilize yourself in any moment at all, where we're about to run off with the cortisol and the adrenaline and the histamines, and it could be testosterone or estrogen. I mean, any hormones or anything that's going to take us off into where we could just settle that down, because the 3 pillars of everything I teach is stabilize first, rewire, constantly rewire, because as you rewire, you stabilize, and that helps you to get into the parasympathetic, and then stabilize, and then rewire your brain, and then be empowered to step into your authority of who you really are, and to step into it with choice, with coming from a good place, and trusting yourself, learning to trust yourself. So I hope that this has been helpful. I love you so very, very mucho. And, you know, I don't really know. It's kind of like, even if you've lived it, what do you say? And I think really steadying yourself in any moment is the most important part of that internal operator, what I call the internal operator. I hope that you download that PDF. It's free, and download that and just see what I'm talking about. In the next video, I'll show you how to steady yourself. I showed you in this video, and I'll show you in the next video too. I love you so very, very much. You can do, be, change, have, create, become absolutely anything. You can move through anything. You can excel in times of change. You can create the most beautiful opportunities out of something that seems so tragic. We've seen many, many people do that in many ways. And you'll make it through, no matter what it is. Whether it be grief, because grief isn't just losing someone. It could be losing a job. It could be losing a limb, you know, your arm or something. And it could be losing just anything, like all your money, you know, or your home in an earthquake or a fire. Grief. How do you move through that? Find that it's not finding center, but it's stabilizing the nervous system, because what we're doing is not solving anything. We're steadying, so that then you can create that capacity to have clarity, to have choice, and take the next step from clarity rather than from emotions that are just these cascading hormones going through your body, chemicals, just so that you, and then you really don't have any control biochemically, chemically in your body. So, okay, I'll say it again. I love you very, very mucho. And we will see you. Today is the 26th. So this is day 26 of 365. We will see you for day 27. See you tomorrow. Ciao.